2021 Assurance of Learning Podcast. I am Mahfouja Malik, chair of our Assurance of Learning Committee. Today we have a special guest, one of our newest committee member, Professor Lauren Charlotte from Finance Department. Professor Charlotte, would you please introduce yourself?
Hi, Mafuja, and thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure. My name is Laurent Chalette. I'm an associate professor in the finance department at WCBT. I teach in undergrad, MBA, MFIM, and doctoral programs, and my specialty is in these days environmental finance as well as other aspects of general economics and finance.
Thank you very much, Professor Charlotte. I know you are very new on our committee, but you are very regular, especially attending the meetings. So, as a new member, how are you feeling about our committee activities and how do you find how effective we are, our committee task for the college?
I think it's extremely effective. The most important thing I find I noticed is the smooth collaboration at the top. So when I say the top, that means yourself and Barbara, the people that do the organizing. You seem to be on top of who is going to be there, what time, what things you're going to talk about. And this phrase that I learned I guess from last year, you use the phrase closing the loop.
Yes.
And so why I like that is I like the organization and I like the fact that things are not left unfinished. It doesn't mean everything is finished within one day because some things take long, but I like the fact that there is a system that is pretty much standing on its own. If a new member has to come or a member has to leave after their term, the system is still in place. And I think that's a strength that is probably the most important thing any committee would have. You don't want to be too fragile when a key person leaves. Yeah.
That's a great compliment. And you mentioned the term closing the loops. Yes, it's also a requirement for our ACSB perspectives for any program. We need to close the loops for every competency goals. And I
Okay.
know you are very active in MS Film program and you recently started teaching undergraduate too. So for every program, we have competency goals. Each competency goals, we have learning objectives that we assess every other years. And that's not all. So we have to see how students are doing, how we can make improvements. And of course, closing the loop is one of our major objectives.
Yes.
So, would you like me to discuss any particular topic today that you think, as a new member, it might be helpful for you and also helpful for our faculty?
I guess one issue that may or may not be central is I've always wondered more high level, what does AOL have to do with AACSB accreditation? Is it does it run along on its own all the time, or is it always targeted to the year of record, say 2 years from now or 1 year from now? That's one thing that I wasn't sure about
Sure.
because the two terms kind of get intermingled at times.
Yep, that's a great question. So AOL is definitely a part of the accreditation process. So for our accreditation, the ASCSB, we have to maintain certain standards. We have 9 standards, and AOL is one of them, standard 5, which means learner success. And one of the part of this is assessing the learner's improvement. And that's what we do for assessing our competency goals and learning objectives. So in one way, you can say, okay, AOL is a required part for ACSB accreditation, but sometimes we also use the AOL data for departmental APR, program review. We also
Okay.
have other regional accreditation, niche accreditation for Northeast universities. So we also try to make kind of align the assessment reports so that we can use the same data that we are using for our AOL, which is more driven towards ACSB accreditation. And we can use the same data for our university APR and other regional accreditation. And
I see.
it is in one way it's its own, but we also sync with the cycle. So ACSB now has a 6 year cycle, and we need to close the loops for every program at least once during the cycle. But it's not like it should be aligned exactly with when we start the cycle and when we finish the cycle. Maybe when the visit is coming, some loops are already closed. Some programs, maybe we are in the middle. We just have first round of data collection and we are approaching to second round and so on. So we need to close the loops once during the cycle, but in another sense, I can say AOL is on its own. Every other year, it will continue data collection, it will do its intervention and improvement process, and not necessarily every date, every program will be aligned with the year of records.
I see. And another, a related question, if I may, is you might have mentioned about the undergrad. How big a role does AOL play with the non-undergrad aspects of of our department, of our college? Is that a big
Yeah,
role? Yeah,
very big role. So does not matter whether it's undergraduate program or graduate programs. For
I see.
every program, we need to assess their goals. And actually, it's easy to deal with graduate programs. You know, your MS Film program, they have specific competency goals that you
Yes,
assess in particular classes. So it is also important because AACSB wants program specific assessment reports. So for each program, we have to ensure we have the assessment data and we close the loop. So I would say it's equally important for both undergraduate and graduate programs.
I see. Thank you very much. That's actually very helpful for me because I have been a bit involved with the MBA MFIM, and I remember you had told me a semester ago that I maybe needed to communicate with Jack Jang for MFIM and so on.
Yes.
And it wasn't clear at the time what was going to be an overlap with what was already done and what was just part of a big system. And so now I'm clear on the role I would play with Jack and the role that any assessment restructuring they do would play in terms of connecting with AOL. Yes, that's very good.
Yeah, that's a good example actually. You know, your program, since you are representing finance and MS Film program, and I heard you probably are revising your graduate programs. So once you have revised curriculum, maybe you can come up with new competency goals or revised competency goals, and you can make a bridge communicating to the committee these are your new or revised competency goals. Definitely, I will work with you and Jack. What are the classes that can be used to assess those? What's the timing? So, your program, and you are a perfect example how the committee works with each program, definitely through the committee members and program directors or department chairs.
I see. Thank you very much. Yes.
So, would you like to know anything else? Have you heard about that? Our undergraduate competency goals are just have been revised.
I would like to know more about the new any new changes that have been made with the undergrad, because that would also apply to the courses I will be teaching
Oh,
now
definitely.
and in the fall moving forward. Yes, please.
Definitely, definitely. I would love to say those changes. So we just approved a new set of competency goals for our undergraduate programs. From now on, our undergraduate programs will be assessed based on three competency goals. So two of them will be common competency goals. That means no matter what's the major, analytics, finance, accounting, marketing, economics, all students will be assessed on those skills or competencies. So these two common competency goals are: number one is data analytics and technology. In short, we will call data tech. And the learning objective is that our undergraduate students will be able to solve business problems effectively using appropriate data and technologies. Our second new goal is ethical and entrepreneurial problem solvings. And our associate dean Brent French came up with a short name for that. We call it EEPS, EEPS, ethical,
Okay.
entrepreneurial problem solving. So it may sound a bit complex, but it's kind of covering other skills that we really want to have our undergraduate students. They should have ethical skills, entrepreneurial mindsets, and of course, problem solvings. All will be also in global context. So, why we change these competency goals? First of all, after 15 years, we changed it. If all those old competency goals, those actually it was a long due, and that's one of the reasons we changed the competency goals. Second, during our last visit, our ACSB peer review team suggested that our college's competency goals were not aligned with college's mission. If you remember a few years ago, we came up with our new mission. Now we have new set of strategies, but we didn't change the competency goals. In our mission, we mentioned that students will have global knowledge, they will have ethical reasoning, they will have technology literacy. So, based on the college's mission and especially for the peer review team's feedback, it was necessary to revise our competency goals. And that's why our second competency goals will assess students' entrepreneurial, ethical, and problem solving skills. We also have one of the sub learning objectives for that, it's persuasive communication. So this is our new set of two core competency goals. Now we have the third one, and maybe for this one you may need to play a role for your undergraduate programs. So our third competency goal will be major specific. That means in every major, students would have advanced level knowledge, and that could be assessed anywhere. It could be a small quiz or test or case analysis or whatever. Each department chair will identify a course location and will assess advanced level major specific knowledge.
I see. I have a question about the second in the describing the second one. The third one is interesting too, but this notion of persuasive communication, uh, that's something I have been thinking about a lot while teaching not just undergrad, but grad as well, even doctoral, because this may take us too far afield, but I sometimes find students want to get the right answer that the professor wants, or something along that nature. And they are hesitant to seem, it's a scale. They're either very shy or they want to appear, they want to show the answer that is quote unquote right. And in fact, I think for me, a persuasive speaker is someone who is able to say, okay, I know these things, but this one I'm not sure of. And is more credible than someone who says, here are all the answers, or someone who says, I don't know anything. First thing. And the second thing is that in the age of AI, it's easy to get a lot of information and be quote unquote persuasive, but you would need to check all of this this
Exactly.
information that you have. So I'm struggling with at present how to make sure I tell the students in my especially undergrad class to try to master the material so that you're persuasive when you present at the end of the semester. But also, persuasion doesn't just mean you know everything all the time. It's also there's communication. You have to listen and adjust and so on. But could you tell me a little bit about how that shapes up within the context of AOL,
Oh, that's
the
a great
pursuit?
question. In our old competency goals, we used to had persuasive communication.
Yeah.
We had both oral communication and written communication. So
Yes.
I'll start from there. What students used to do, they used to do a presentation, and we have a rubric to check their presentation skills. They also used to have paper writing, and we have those graded by learning center or writing centers professors or writing center tutors. So this is the way we did in the past.
Yes.
Now, here we still need to work on how we define persuasive communication and the instrument and the location where it will be tested. And I totally agree with you. The persuasive communication, it also depends on um, what course you are teaching. Maybe the way a marketing students will do their presentation is completely different the way accounting people will do. And maybe for finance students, if you teach a very technical course, then you may have different expectations what students will present at the end of the semester. But we more or less we want to focus on the communication skills, not the content side, that will keep it apart. So these are two different things. First, content is what you have to deliver. You are answering the questions to the point. What
Yes.
was you are supposed to present? You are not presenting unnecessary information. This is content. And
Yes.
other is presentation style, how your gesture, how you are doing your eye contact, how clearly you are pronouncing your words, how fast is your pace. So we in the past, we actually did those communication type, not focusing much on the contents.
Content. Yes. Yes.
But now we are not sure yet. That's what we are working now. First, to finding out a suitable class. Second, what would be the topic? And also, please remember this is a core competency goals. That means all majors have to do the same test or assessments. So currently we discussed MGT 401. This is one strategic management course that all of our undergraduate seniors take it.
Yes.
That could be a good location, and based on what contents they have, whether they have already a presentation, so that could be used. But that does not mean you will not teach your finance class how to do communicate, how to do presentations. Definitely from finance context, you will train your students. This is how to present ratio analysis. This is how to convince the audience with a suitable graph when you are presenting any topic. And of course, the other sides, eye contact, your speech, your pause, gestures, those are part of it. But we are still working on it, how to develop the instrument, where and when to assess it.
Thank you, Mafuja. So you're saying Management 401 will be the home for most of this to begin with.
One possible class
I
that
see.
why we picked it. In the past, we did oral presentation in MK 201, but
Yes.
it's a very early level class, freshman and sophomore. So
Yes.
they might not have skills developed by that time. On the other hand, MGT 401 is upper level senior class, so that's the great place to assess. We still need to work with management department chair, and definitely we will not overburden the faculty, put them extra work on that. So for data analytics or ethical entrepreneurial problem solvings or communication, we will figure out some other space that how we can assess it, all seniors, through that course, but not overburdening the faculty.
Yeah, I
And
see. Yes.
we did it in the past. For example, students used to do their foundation knowledge. We set up a separate Blackboard class. All MGT 401 students were registered, and I and Barbara worked to set up the quiz questions, and they take it sometimes outside of the classroom so that it's not taking their class time.
Right, right.
And we still need to discuss about the faculty and the department chair, how we can utilize that course, but not too much on the faculty, but at the same time assessing these two core competencies.
Well, thank you, Mafuja. One comment I would like to make is that I have seen your doctoral prep slides that some students have used very profitably. You tell them a list of things they should do, and of course they deviate from time to time, but what's the question and technique and all of these things. And I think that such rubrics are helpful for students. They probably get some of this from Anne Sufredini and others in the career development too.
Sure. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I like the fact that there is a class and maybe several classes, because then the students get exposed to some sort of framework. Each professor, no professor is going to say just do any old presentation. They'll say you should do this, this, and this. And so students get used to systems
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
help them present well. So maybe they might not like the way so much or how I organize it, but maybe your way or Bora's way, but they get exposed to different styles as well, because you can have the same content and you can be persuasive in different ways. And
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, so there's sometimes multiple avenues. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, yeah. And rubric is must for any type of assessments.
Yes.
Rubric is must. So we definitely will have rubric for each competency goals and communications and other assessments. And we have to keep all those graded rubrics too, just for our record. A
Mhm.
CSB team may ask, okay, where are the graded rubrics? How many faculty are involved to assess it? So I think these are all excellent questions, Lauren. So uh, I would just say, like, you, this is a great, great podcast so far. I have done very interactive, very thoughtful questions. And
Thank you.
I would like to thank you very much, Lauren, for your time. And thank you for great comments and great questions.
Thank you, Mahfouz. It's a pleasure. I'm always happy to chat with you.
Thank